Hello, everybody. We started now the live. Hello, my friend.
Hello, brother. How you doing?
It's funny now you're gonna switch language, speak in English.
Yes, gotta see how it works.
So how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Really good. How are you?
You look good. You look very good.
Thank you.
You're on
I
the
went
sun
to I
side.
went to the jungle nearby to get some bamboos today. I'm gonna be crafting some stuff, so
Well, I
uh
want to hear more about your skills on construction.
yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna make a fireplace for a barbecue made with the bamboo sticks, and I'm gonna making some vegan barbecue over this fireplace. It's pretty cool.
Cool. Very nice. I see we have a lot of people joining now.
Cool.
And so I'm very excited because this is the first time, let's say, the Formless Talks, and you're the first guest. Thank you very much for joining us. To have the privilege to have this exchange. Well, we got to know each other quite recently.
Yes.
No, I think this is one of the positive aspects of Instagram. You just place a comment there, and I can't even remember exactly, but I was just this immediate recognition. No, I just respond to you, and suddenly you're engaged and have a very inspiring exchange. No, and here we are. No, and
That's true.
something that for me was super attractive in your experience, which was also related to my experience, was this connection you had there in Amazon with the Indians, with the native people. You kind of merge yourself with this tribal lifestyle. I also had a little experience in Amazon. I spent 2 months. I didn't have the chance to live with the Indians, but I was living with the locals. And for me, it was a life change experience. It was before I went I left Brazil, and that experience for me was kind of was the setup, how I still perceive life. And now I take beautiful, deep lessons. And so we've been discussing a little bit your experiences, and maybe it would be nice that if you can share a little bit your journey from being a chef and having your restaurant to the moment you just was tossed all the way into the Amazon jungle. So great if you could open up this conversation, sharing your experience.
All right. Thank you so much. Um, okay, so I'm EnZo. I'm a chef. I'm graduated from culinary school, and when I was 22, I opened my restaurant, and I have partners, and I was working a lot, really tired, but it was going well for me. But I was kind of going nuts because the way I was working, it was too stressful. And by the age of 26, I decided to sell my share, to quit the restaurant because I wanted to travel, I wanted to learn more, and by that time I was already working with organic products, and I was doing my own food, like artisan food, instead of buying processed food from the market. I was already making my own food, like sauces and fermentations, and also smoked meat. Uh, so I already had this idea of what food should be like, not something from the market that you buy everything and you just cook. Instead of that, you make everything from scratch. So that was my idea. And before my idea before leaving Brazil and going to Europe to study more of the classical cuisine, I decided to travel to my own country and learn more of my own culture, especially indigenous culture, because that is something that we don't really talk about in Brazil. Uh, Especially 4 years ago, nobody talked about indigenous food or indigenous techniques or indigenous at all. So I had this opportunity to go to Acre, which is one of the states of the Amazon jungle, and so I packed it up. I went there, didn't know where to go, but for some reason, all the doors opened for me, and I found myself a job in a indigenous festival. So tourists from all over the world come to this festival to support the tribe. It's a very interesting tribe that has a lot of the original culture, but they are opening themselves for tourism as a way to get some resources and build. So I went there and I cooked for them, mostly plants that I found around the jungle, because many of the tourists were vegetarian, so they didn't want to have meat every day, and indigenous people love meat. So it helped me to know about vegan food. So I started looking for different plants, and that's where I learned a lot of different plants that can be eaten. And after this work, everything changed for me. My whole life changed, because I realized how I was in touch with my own culture, the original Brazilian culture. And I realized that I could do a nice research over indigenous food, over nutrition and techniques and products, different fruits and roots, and different ways of preparing food. So after this festival, I keep working in different tribes in Acre, different ethnicities like Yawanawa, Xanenawa, Ashaninka, Puyanawa, Nukini. So
you met them.
Yes. So I started traveling from one tribe to another and doing work, mostly helping them to cook for visitors, because that was part of my plan to help with hospitality, because they are opening themselves for tourism. So it's important to have some qualification on how to do it. So that was kind of the way I trade my experience. I helped them with cooking, and they taught me so much that I can't even say thank you enough. But I went to the jungle for hunting experiences, fishing experiences, and expeditions to sacred lands, and spending many days in the jungle, walking or on the river by the boat, having this, I guess, male experience of going hunting and have all this very rustic way of living that sometimes you think it's not possible anymore, but they make it possible, because when they go hunting or they go fishing, they only take their tool. They don't take anything else, and they make everything happen. They make the fireplace, they make the fire, and they make place to sleep. And it was really exciting for me having all these experiences. At the same time, I was learning a lot of this food that is so traditional and so pure that we don't experience that in the city anymore. So what I was trying to do at the same time was to study their techniques and their products to see how that works for their nutrition, and how it works for their culture and their cosmology. So it's a real complex thing that goes with their food.
How many years did you spend there with them?
4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
You were all the time there, or back and forward?
Mostly back and forward. I would go to the jungle and spend usually 15 days in the jungle with them, Then I would come back to the city, organize my life, and sometimes help them to get stuff from the city to take back to the jungle and bring the group with me. So I was helping them with this touristic thing. So I would go to the city, get stuff, get the people, and take to the jungle and cook for them there and have all this experience. But sometimes I would go to the jungle just for fun, just for relaxing and spending time with them, which is the best experience because you can see, you can experience the way they live, and that is really special. That's life changing.
From my experience, when I arrived there in Amazon, I was under cultural shock, even though Amazon, no, it's part of Brazil, but it didn't feel like quite the Brazil I knew before. And I was not living amongst the Indians, so I think they were pretty related, the local ones. They had a strong influence of that more regional lifestyle. But for me, it was a mind-blowing experience, in so many ways. So, and very challenging on the other hand as well, because it asks from you to open up yourself for another way to perceive life. And of course, adapting into the way of eating, and it's one of the things, but also the cosmology for me, this fine line between reality and fantasy and all these legends and all this imaginary that is so present in that population. It's of course, if you come from a very materialistic mindset, you just consider that for this it's all invention. But once you're there and you feel the power of this storytelling and how it is integrated, interwoven into these daily lives, how all the praise and all these little rituals, they do it in order to have good luck, to go hunting, and all the treatments they have towards the nature, towards the animal. So it's very beautiful, and I feel it's a big shame that we in our modern culture we value so little about this Asian knowledge. Maybe you could tell a little bit your experience. What are the challenges that you're facing in that cultural interaction, and what was the benefits? What was the transformative experiences you had in this in over time by being among them?
Nice. What it said is really true. They have this relationship with nature, which is really hard for us to understand because we don't live in the nature anymore. But they respect nature in a special way. They understand of the moon and they understand of the rain, and they talk about the animal spirits, and they respect it. And also they say, and it also has a lot to do with our values and the way we act, because if we act in a bad way, nature is gonna do something to you. Like if you're being a bad person or a lazy person, then you go to the jungle, you're not gonna find any meat, you're not gonna find any animal to hunt. Or maybe you are in a bad lucky and you're gonna step into a spike, or maybe a poison animal is gonna bite you. So this has a lot to do with your spirit, the way your spirit is acting at the moment. So you have to do some cleansing to clean yourself up, to be able to go to the jungle and be safe. And also, I had my mind. I was really into productivity because I come from working a lot and thinking that I have to work a lot to earn money and to retire and buy cars. And so I come from this world, and going to their houses, and I saw how they work with their resources, always sharing, and the way they do things right at the moment, they're not really into saving things for the future. They do things at the moment. So for me, it was hard because I was trying to be productive and trying to change them into my way of living, and it doesn't work like that. And uh, and I have always been a little anxious about everything and trying to rush. And when I got there, things are easier. We go to sleep earlier. We wake up really early. We wake up around 4 or 5 every day, and then the first thing you do is take a very cold shower uh, because it cleans you up for the day. And for me, it was hard the first few days, but afterwards I start loving it. And so you work during the day, and the weather is really hard because it's really hot, really humidity, and but that's something that I like about the way they work and they rest is because when it comes about 5:30 or 6 o'clock, they stop working. They go near the river and they do some hape, which it's a tobacco medicine, and then they shower, they bath in the river, and then afterwards they don't think about work anymore. They change, they play, they eat, and they rest, and they're happy. They don't think about working. And when I was working, when I had a restaurant, I would work all day, and when I could come home, I would sleep thinking of my next day or thinking about work, and that taught me how to rest, to calm down, and know, okay, the work's tomorrow now, and I'm gonna rest. I'm gonna celebrate. So I really like that about them, and of course, there are many things that can be that we can use into our lives, but we have to pay more attention to it. One thing is the four elements. They have a lot of respect for the four elements, like water and fire and wind and earth. So they say they talk to the wind. The wind's a way of sending messages, and the water is pure. It cleans us up, and the fire burns fear and burns everything that has to go away. And earth is where we plant. So this connection is really hard to explain in a few words, but we have to experience it. And for me, living with them got me more connection to these elements, which is there for forever, which have always been there, but in the city we don't pay attention to it. Also, the way they express their spirituality is really different, because for them everything is alive. So animal have spirits, and the forest has spirits, the tree has spirits, the plants, and the water has a spirit, and the rain. But also they use medicines to achieve different states of conscience, which in the cities we see people using drugs, but what they do is really different. They achieve really high levels of spirituality through some plants, but mostly the pages, the shamans will do that. The rest of people have this spirituality already into them because everything for them is spirituality. So God is everywhere. They have this idea of coming from maybe different tribes have different ideas, but some of them have this idea of God's spirit that made the life happen in the earth. But for them, it's really important to connect to these gods that we have around us, these spirit gods. So that I guess for me it was hard because we have this idea that God is somewhere else and it's not here in the earth. So we have to achieve that point and go to God's land. But hey, you are already in God's land, so be where you are. And other than that, I guess they also have a different way to communicate. They're really direct, and they say what they think right on your face, which is hard sometimes, but it's really awesome. Because in the city we have this idea of trying not to hurt someone, so you don't say something. They don't care about that. They just say it and deal with that. And also, we have this word now. It's called bullying. So it's making fun of others. And now it's forbidden. You can't do it. And I agree. It's something you have to be aware of. But they are always making fun of each other, of one another. So it's really funny because if they like you, they make fun of you. And they give you nicknames, and they if you do something different, they make fun of it. And it's not because they don't like you, it's the opposite. They like you, that's why they make fun of you. I remember one day I was in this tribe, the Ashaninkas, and many indigenous guys came to me, and just one spoke Portuguese, really bad Portuguese. And he said he kept teaching me words in Ashaninka and telling me to repeat. Every time I repeated, they made fun of me. So I knew he was teaching me how to say some bad words or making fun of myself. But they are making so fun of me. They said, well, I guess they like me because they're laughing with me. So I learned to play more, enjoy more of displays instead of being hurt. No, they're making fun of me, so I'm gonna be sad. No, they're making fun of me, so we're all good. They like me. So
maybe that's the difference between now our concept of a bullying and how they kind of make fun of each other, because they, as you said, maybe they are laughing with you, not at you.
Yes, exactly.
And whereas the bullying, people are laughing at you. Yes. So, and that makes a big difference. That's not a good feeling when people make ridicule of you. And I think when in this good spirit, of living this sort of community, when people are making fun, is a sign of respect, is a sign of a recognition. And you can feel it energetically. Even though the behavior, it can be pretty much similar, difficult to make a clear distinction, but the emotions that are coming along, the actions that could not be more different. And that's something that happens on a meta level of communication. It's a meta communication, because it's not in the words, it's not even the behaviors, but is that quality that that we have the sensibility to recognize, like which kind of space it comes from. These things that could be considered very negative, but in such a context, you feel like more welcome, more embraced by the. It's very interesting.
Also, I guess in the beginning it was hard to adapt to the rain, because sometimes it rains so much. Probably the whole day is going to be raining in the rainy season, so it's harder to take showers and to walk around the tribe, or to go by boat from the city to the tribe. Sometimes it's raining the whole day, so you have to be tougher in a way, because in the city, if it starts raining, you cover yourself. In the jungle, you can't, so you have to get used to these things. Also, the mosquitoes, sometimes they bother you a lot. And you see animals, you see snakes, you see big ants, you see spiders, huge spiders, and wasps. So you kind of have to learn to be calm with that, instead of being afraid of a snake or something. No, just trust that you are not doing anything bad, so it won't do anything bad to you either. And
what about the fears? Did you face your fears there? Or did you meet some of the fears that was a no until that experience?
I didn't really feel fear of any experience and any real experience, because I always felt safe with them. But what I felt more was a little confusion of not knowing if I wanted to live like them, or if I wanted to live like I was living before in the city. That was the biggest thing. Trying to find a way between living the jungle and living the city, because my values changed. The way they live, the way they sustain their society and their culture, their family, and the way they work with the land made me want to change the way I lived. So in the beginning, it was really hard because I had a completely different idea for my own future, what I wanted for my future, what I wanted for my career and my life. And then for almost a year, I had this big confusion in my mind, trying to figure out what to do next, and facing fears like, what is my family gonna say, or what people is gonna judge me. And afterwards, after a few really intense experience I had there, I think I integrate. So I saw that I can live in the city, but I can protect the jungle. I can go to the jungle and be happy there, but I have to find a way to make them work together. Mostly because indigenous people in the jungle, they need our help to be protected. So I found myself in a position as a world bridger. So I can go to these different worlds and try to make them be more protected, but also try to bring some knowledge, some ancestor knowledge to the city people.
And how was this return back to the city? Did you manage to integrate this knowledge? People will be able to listen to you. Could you share a little bit to sow the seeds that you're sort of harvesting while being with them?
I guess in the beginning it was hard because I came from the jungle and I went straight to São Paulo, which that huge city, and I was like, whoa, what I'm doing here? People are crazy. But I guess there's a synchronicity in life that you have to be aware of or pay attention to, because doors started opening for me and people started coming to me trying to learn from this experience. And so I started doing some workshops and talks, and I brought many people to the jungle. Many people started a new life from going to the jungle with me. So what I decided to do is gather with people who are in this conscience, instead of trying to change people, and especially my family. My family is not really into the jungle. So instead of trying to fight them and say, no, we have to change our values and everything, I decided not to talk to them a lot, just talk about different stuff, show good things. But I found many people that are interested, so I started doing partnerships and gather and talks. So I think life has brought me many different people to my life, many different friends. And I think that's why I think there's a synchronicity, because before I went to the jungle, I had some type of friends. Afterwards, I have new friends, and the friends I had before, they wanted to change, they changed it, and many of them went there with me and they experienced that. But some people, they're still doing the same thing, so I respect that. Everybody has their own time. And for me, one of the things is about sustainability and food, because living with them, I saw the urgency of taking care of the land and taking care of being planting, and also green energy. I saw how it's important for them to have access to these resources, but also I understood how the city is going down in the way of the sustainability. So we have to bring this light to the city too, because otherwise we're gonna have so many disasters. And they are talking about these disasters for over 500 years, and only now we talk about ecology. So you see the indigenous people in North America, they are talking about the disasters from destroying nature for over 500 years. So it's interesting that now we are able to pay attention to this because we are seeing the disasters all around of us. And the other thing is about food. I saw how our culture brought to the jungle, to the indigenous people, a very bad type of food, which is really industrialized with lots of white sugar and white flour, white salt, and they are eating that because nobody. That's why people brought to them, and of course they still eat their own food, but it's easier if you buy something that's already processed. You don't have to do anything, and also it lasts long. So they now have many diseases like diabetes and cholesterol and high pressure, high blood pressure, because they're eating this junk food that we make in the city. So I realize how this work with food is so important, and also by watching their connection to the animals, I saw how the way we treat animals in the city is so bad for the animal, is really bad for us too. So I started to change my career into a more organic, more conscious type of cooking. And before I was scared of, oh, people's gonna judge me because I became a naturalist and want to cook vegan food. But now I see that food is really political. So a vegan chef actually is doing political because we are fighting a big industry that doesn't care about nature and doesn't care about people who are eating their food. So I see my work now as an educator because I can help people to open their minds to this organic food, natural food that's going to improve their health. And that for me is really important.
You know, for many years, I used to be vegan. It was a very tough period of my life. It was difficult for me not to become fundamentalist in that time. So possibly it was the time I had the most conflict. And I thought it was holding a flag of a beautiful ideal. And I thought people would listen to this message because it was so obvious, like the way we treating the animal, the earth. But that was not actually it. That was let's say a hard lesson, and I had to learn to the hard way. But then I had also to refer back, to the experiences I had there back in 2000 in Amazon, when they're so integrated to the nature, they have a natural sense of respect to the animals. They don't have this label vegan. No. But they eat animals. Mm-hmm. So it seems like we had to to go so far out of any sense of a harmony towards nature that in order to bring back this this harmonious integration, so you have to develop this concept, which is also denying something that those people, they don't deny. So it's not was not about eating meat or not eating meat. It was how you eat meat. Exactly. But it's so perverted, the way you treat the animals or the farming industry, that it would be kind of difficult to find a compromise or a balance in between. So I think those people who really care, they unconsciously they figure out that the best way to care is to, like I say, look, we cannot have to sort of create another perspective of treating the animals. But I find very, not ironic, but I find at least very curious that those people, they maybe are the models of how to live in harmony in nature, but for them it's no problem like to engage in also killing animals. And how do you see that? Because you claim to be moving towards this more vegan cuisine, but you have a very close experience to your heart, living with people who hunting. It's an essential part of life. No, if you don't hunt, you no. But that's also part of the game of the jungle. Where I was living, no, of course they live on hunting, on fishing, but sometimes the animals also they kill humans. No, it happens like the leopards or the snakes like killing. So it seems to be a more kind of a fair play in that sense. No, so they can say killing is allowed. No, but for us, it's no, we have lost contact with this way of killing. So killing also has become a taboo. So there's lots of judgment, sometimes lots of prejudice. Oh, no, you eat meat, so then you are already like on the bad side. So it becomes very polarized in this way. And I feel like in a such a integrated society, it's not an issue. The polarization is not manifested. It's just another perception of life that brings a sense of balance naturally. It doesn't need to come from preconceived ideas. It comes from just a lifestyle that speaks much louder than any of ideas that we can project into the world. Can you talk a little bit about your experience, like how you are sort of dealing with this? I don't know if it's a conflict or at least is qualities that you need to sort of be in dialogue with.
Nice. Okay, so yes, they eat meat, but they eat a very abundant quality of meat because they have different animals and they have fishes and they have birds and they have worms. So they have different animals they eat. We don't eat that much of animals. We eat cow and pig and poultry, and that's mostly it. And they have a story that I like. So when they go hunting and they find, let's say, this wild pork that comes in a big group, like 40 wild porks come, they all run together, and it's you and me hunting, and we kill one each, and we carry one each, so it's good. But maybe if you want to just be killing animals, we kill more than we can carry. So the spirit of this animal is going to be mad at us because we are killing more than we can carry. So since the spirit's mad at us, next time we go hunting, we won't be finding meat. And maybe we're going to be poisoned by a snake or a spider. So they have ways. So it's a story that says that we have to be respectful to this animal. And the way they live never puts animal into danger, because what kills mostly of the animals is deforestation. So when it's winter season, when it's the rainy season, they have more meat like deer or wild pork or monkeys. But when it's dry season, they fish more. So they have this respect for the season, which keeps the balance. So the animals that comes near the village, the tribe, it happens because there are too many animals, so they're coming near the village. So if the animals are too far and you cannot find them, then you have to wait for the next year to find them. You don't go looking for this specific animal. So they have a natural way of having this balance between what they eat and how they respect the animals to grow and survive. But also their meat is natural. No antibiotics, no ration, those bad food. So the animal eats something that is alive. One animal eats another animal or eats some plant. So the meat is tastier and healthier. It's really different from what we have. And like in Brazil, we have to deforestate to grow cows, but also we have to deforestate to plant soy or corn to feed the cows. So we have to be deforesting for one animal. And also the waste, how much waste we have in the meat industry. It's huge, and they don't have this type of waste because they eat everything. And from the leather, the skin, they make drums, and from the bones, they make crafts, they make weapons, and from the teeth, they make necklaces. And what's left, they're gonna give to the crowds, you know. So there's no waste. It's a different way. But also, what I think is interesting about their culture is that animals have different personalities. Like the alligator. Alligator is an animal that does not scream. It's soundless. So if you are trying to become a singer, you cannot be eating alligator. See, because you're gonna get the personality of the alligator. But if you wanna be a singer, there is a specific monkey that has the throat. It sings a lot and it screams. So you eat this throat and you become a singer. Of course, you have to do a diet and a process, but they have ways of interacting with the personality of the animal, like the deer. Deer is supposed to be the cleanest, and the purest meat in the jungle because the deer only eats fruits and mud, so clay. So it's clean. It's good for you. Cleans your system. If you eat like a pork or a rodent, and you have like a wound, maybe it's gonna get infected. And I try it. It happens. And there are many other things about this. But one thing is really interesting about the indigenous people and their relation to meat is that they do diets. So the process of healing is related to diets. So we were talking the other day, the intermittent diet, the fast. So yeah, we do fasting, and you see the Ramadan in the Arabic culture, they do fasting. The Hebrews, they do fasting, and the Ayurveda culture, they do fasting. So indigenous people, they do fasting too. So let's say they have specific ways of doing this fasting, these diets, what they call today. So they have diets for becoming a paje, which is a shaman, or they have diets to learn something from the animal, or maybe I'm gonna learn something from this person. This guy gives me a diet, so I learned something from him. Or and also during these diets, there are many specific meats you cannot eat. There are only a few types of meat you can eat. So you have to be fasting. You have to be on a diet. You cannot have sugar or fat or salt, and that has a lot to do with what they eat, because naturally they have sugar from honey, and they have fat from animals, and also palm trees oils, which is one of the best products of Brazil, and salt. They would find salt in some specific type of meat, ashes, and clay. So they have ways of understanding their food as medicine, and they will do diets not eating some type of food because they are getting some wisdom or maybe healing. I have my friend who tells this story. He's a river person, not indigenous, but was born in the river, and he got bitten by his brother was bitten by a snake, and this guy, this medicine man, healed him with some herbs, and afterwards he put him and his whole family on a diet. And talking to my friends, and this diet is supposed to make the end of the healing process. For 1 week, you cannot have sex, you cannot have meat, you cannot have fat fishes, or you cannot have sugar. And then I brought this information to my doctor friend, which is a very, very smart guy, not really into pharmaceutical. And he said, well, that is really smart because you are cleaning your body. It helps healing because you are free of sugar or fat, so it helps your healing. So they have different relationship to food.
I would like to make a hook now for the current moment we're living. But before that, what is interesting is because what you are describing, according to your experience, the indigenous people, it's something that you, as you said, you see like in different expressions, but you see the same pattern present all over these Asian traditions. And there's no internet at that time. They are not exchanging information, no, but there was some kind of knowledge, and God knows from where they extracted knowledge that seems to bound them in a kind of coherent unit. Of course, expressions and varies, through all sort of colors and cultures, but this understanding, this very Asian ancestral understanding how to maintain the health, how to relate like in a harmony with the nature, with the animals, other living forms. So this seems that we have lost that, or at least it has been seriously compromised. And perhaps this is a suggestion that this pandemic moment you live in now is maybe a consequence of more than humanity abusing and violating certain principles. And now you see like how on the one hand we claim that we take the pride that we're a very advanced species. We ignore those so-called primitive civilizations. So we have all this technology, we have science, everything on our side. On the other hand, it feels quite pathetic because now we're facing the threat of the virus, and suddenly we are so like frail, beings. We are all now inside homes and using masks, like and hoping that a needle is going to save the world. Is going to be only a way for us to go back to life. So and you see like the mainstream media, no one's talking about that. There was very little discourse like how to build up our immune system, how we could improve our life habits, our eating habits, in order to create a condition that would be much more favorable in order to face this threat. I don't want to say this is not a big issue, because I guess it's also a big issue for the Indians as well. So it's for all of us. But the way we are taking these preventive measures, it seems to be quite limited in a way, And maybe you could comment something like how you regard this approach to health and medical care in these cultures, and in relation to this current moment where we feel like completely limited, completely undermined in our potency.
Okay, so first you said about this correlation of knowledge between ancient cultures, and it has a lot to do with the sacred and natural and early knowledge that men had, which is in contact with nature. Men learn everything from nature, from animals. Animals taught men. Some people say we would speak to animals, and I believe that, but I haven't seen someone doing that besides of the way we do. But animals taught us how to live. Animals taught us how to plant, like the birds, like the squirrels, and the bees. They taught us how to ferment and how to make pots, and also like the jaguar taught indigenous how to hunt, or the condor or the eagle taught them how to see beyond what is seen. So there's a lot of knowledge they preserve by listening to nature, and that's why we find many things that are similar in different cultures, because they preserve the natural knowledge, which was lost for 2,000 years. I don't know what happened, but I think one big issue with people now is that everybody's at home and not knowing what to do, not knowing what to expect, and what's going to be in the future. Everybody's experiencing anxiety, anxious. Everybody's anxious. So I think the problem is nobody is ready to be alone with yourself, and that's a big problem. People cannot meditate. People cannot rest. People cannot listen to their own body, to their own mind. One thing I learned from indigenous people, and it's one of the best things I learned in my entire life, is that we have to be aware of our thoughts. They have a word for it, it's Shinan. So every time they're gonna do some praying, they're gonna say this word, Shinan, which means thought. So our thoughts have a lot to do with our minds. So the indigenous people are very quiet, very quiet. They know how to be in silence. And for me, that was really hard in the beginning because I was very productive and anxious, and I always think of many things and having ideas and want to talk, want to chat. And they taught me how to be in silence. And for me, that has helped me a lot right now because I am actually enjoying this time by my own. Me, my partner, and my baby, which is coming. So we are enjoying. I'm planting. I'm taking care of my body, doing some yoga, doing some exercise. I'm eating organic. I'm listening to good music. I'm watching good stuff. I'm talking to nice people. So I think that it's all about nutrition. If our nutrition of the body or the mind is not good, we cannot be good. So people now have this time to be at home. Of course, there are many things there's going to be an issue like money or healthcare or the hospitals. But if you have the opportunity to be at home and you are safe, be thankful for that and enjoy this time. It's time to look to yourself, to look inside. There's a little part of God inside of you that is claiming to be heard of, to be paid attention to. So one thing I learned from them is that you don't need a master. When you're trying to become someone greater, you don't need a master. You need someone to guide you, but he's not going to teach you how to be someone great or do something better. He's going to teach you how to look at yourself and find the master in there. And that's really nice. Nature teaches you by looking at ourselves, and we know it. We just can't do it because we're too busy to many things that are not important. And right now, at the moment we live in the world, I think it's really important what's happened to the world right now, because some people want to come back to normality, to the normal world, but the normal world is not working. It wasn't working. And if we find a cure for this pandemic, in a few years, there will be another one, and we're going to have to find a cure again, because the problem is not the virus. The problem is us. We have to change. We have to change the way you consume, the way we eat, the way we think. And that only happens by looking at ourselves and seeing what is pure, what's true. And I think some people, and I consider myself in this group, that have this chance of experience a different type of life, more organic, more natural. We have kind of like a duty to inspire, to help people, because that's what we need. I cannot go to the jungle and change myself and become a better person and not share, because that's not fair. That's the way people do in the city. They want to have everything for their own. It's like a selfish child. I don't want to share my toy. No, that doesn't work that way. What I learned, I have to share, because people shared with me a lot of knowledge. So I'm going to share my knowledge, and maybe right now with the internet, so everybody's connected, we have a strength to change the world because we are connected. Like you and me, we connect like 1 month ago, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and we are talking. We have video calls, and we exchanged books, we exchanged movies. So, and we are doing this right now, and how many other connections we can make, so we can make things happen. Because I think there have always been good people, but they are not connected. The crime is more organized than good people. Bad people are better organized than good people, because good people have difficulties because the government's not good, so it makes you a hard time. The bank is not good, so it gives you a hard time. But now we have this experience of sharing knowledge, but also of creating a new collaborative way, a financial, including financial talking, a new form of economy that it's more about sharing and more about respect, and that's what we need. And I think that's what the new generation need of us, to change our mindset, so the next generation come and have a better world to live. Otherwise, it's gonna be a worse world to live, and time is running out. So right now is the time to change.
And wow, talking about time, we also have a time limit here.
No.
It's crazy because it's like it's already an hour almost, and it didn't feel like that. It flew by, fast to my taste. But it was a very beautiful message. It was for me, it was a heartfelt this and a privilege actually to have this further exchange with you. And honestly, I really feel we are just starting something. And perhaps you could have another moment. We can do it through Zoom, in a different format, a different way of also sharing. Maybe with the Zoom we can have other freedom there, like but I'm really pleased and grateful for your time, for sharing your experience with such an open heart. And I thank you very much for everybody who was following us as well, joining. I was having this idea to invite people to put some questions. We also could have this interaction with people. Unfortunately, it was not possible this time.
I talk too much.
Yeah, but I feel it's really promising, and I would like to figure out other ways that you can carry on this exchange. And
so much, man.
Yes, it's a big pleasure, and it's going to be. We're gonna save these on the stories, so whoever didn't have the chance to see can see the stories. And I think Marina works for us. She's also figure out a way to save in the phone, and I think it's very inspiring to to share this message out there, especially in these times. Like it feels so needed this knowledge to integrate, to empower us, because we really in a way I feel that we are retreating in a way that is as you said, like you're like how many people like you now able to say I've enjoyed this time, I enjoy to build myself, and it's just a shift of perception. And I think that our perceptions are very much suffering from these corporate media, and so you're being bombarded with fear. So I think it's nice to have people like you that can just expand, broaden the horizon. So thank you very much. How you say thank you in one of the languages that you learned there?
I know a few words. One of them is Kawana Hanta.
Kawana Hanta. We're gonna finish. We're gonna 3 seconds. Kawana Hanta.